Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Life with Nana. I'm Nana, and I'm so glad you're here today. Today, it's all about chocolate. Today, we're going to be making some dry mixes that are nice to have on your pantry shelf. So let me tell you what we're going to be making. We're going to be making a brownie mix, and this would be the same thing that you would buy in the store. It would just be the dry ingredients, and then you will have to add the wet ingredients. So we're going to be doing 2 cups of sugar, a cup of cocoa, a cup of all-purpose flour, and half a teaspoon of salt. Now when you get ready to make this, you're going to pour your dry ingredients, and I have them in a Ziploc bag, and I have the instructions written on the front. And you will add 2 eggs, a half a cup of butter, a teaspoon of water, some vanilla. Remember, we measure with our heart. And if you don't like to do that, then put in about a teaspoon of vanilla. Nuts or chocolate chips or both. So if you're going to do one or the other, I would say about a half a cup. And if you're going to do both, then a fourth of a cup of each. Or more if you want it. That part's not going to matter that much. You're going to bake this in a 9 by 9 pan for 20 minutes at 350 degrees. So let's get started on this one. And I already have my ingredients measured out here. And so we're going to add our 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of cocoa, and 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and a half a teaspoon, if I can read these, a half a teaspoon of salt. I know it seems funny putting salt in something like this, but it makes all the difference in the world. So just trust Nana and go ahead and do that. Now, you could put this in a blender or your stand mixer or whatever. I'm just going to mix this up by hand. And if we have more than this is going to hold, I'm I'm out of quart-sized bags, so I'm going to just put it in a jar if we have more than this. We're going to be putting 2 cups of the mix in each one of these bags. And that should be pretty close to. You see, we're just mixing it up. It's not really that big of a deal. Now, the reason I love this is because I used to buy a lot of brownie mixes and things like that. I never was really good at making brownies. These make the best brownies ever. And if you will cook them for just that 20 minutes, they'll be phenomenal. They'll just be so good. And this is no different, like I said before, this is no different than if you bought a box of brownies mix at the store. You're just mixing up the dry ingredients yourself. All right. So we need 2 cups, and I'm going to use my little funnel per bag. I'll get just a little bit more because I didn't quite get it. Y'all know I'm not precise. And then we're going to get all the air out and zip it together. And then this will lay flat. You can have a little box that you keep all these mixes in, and these will lay flat just like that, and that'll be wonderful. Now when you make these, they are so good. But wait until they cool off a little bit before you dig in. That's hard for Nana to do too. But try. And they cut better. They taste better. All right. Now from my ingredients here, I should have had 4 cups. That was my dryer, sorry. I should have had 4 cups, so I'm pretty sure that I can get this in here maybe. Nope. I'm going to take a spoon. And you can double this, triple this, quadruple it. You can do whatever you want. Make up as many as you want. Oh, there we go. That's 2 packages of brownie mix. And I didn't do the math, guys, on how much it would cost you versus what it would cost you at the store. But I'm pretty sure that I didn't use $3 or $4 worth of ingredients in that. So, which is what the store brand would cost you probably. All right, so we got our brownies done. I got a lot of mixes laying over here. So the next thing we're going to work on is our homemade hot chocolate recipe. And all you do to this is you can add water or milk to it. I add milk and a little cream. You can see I've been using mine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and... Oh, there it is. I was frazzled for a minute. All right, so we're going to need 3 cups of dried milk. And you can use low fat, 2% or whole. If I had a choice, I would buy whole milk. And then we're going to use about a cup of powdered sugar. I have that right here. Some people call this icing sugar. And a half a cup of cocoa, and I have that right here. I'm making a little wall over here. And a little bit of salt. So the first thing that is going to go in is our non-fat. What is this? Let me see what I actually bought. This is instant non-fat dry milk. This is what they had at Walmart. Now, if I could get it, I would get whole milk. But it probably wouldn't stay shelf stable for as long. I'm not sure about that, but we're going to go with that. So the next thing we need is, it calls for 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Now I'm using the icing sugar, so I'm going to use a full cup in this mix. And then if it's not as sweet as you like it, you can always just add a little bit more to your jar, shake it around, and it'll be really good that way. All right, and then we need 1/2 cup of cocoa. So I have my cocoa here. Let me see what size measurer this is. This is 1/3 of a cup, so let me get rid of that. 1/2 a cup, so I have a 1/4 of a cup measurer. And I don't mind if it's a heaping spoonful. Let me put this one back in here. Okay, and then 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So, a little bit of salt. Got cocoa on my hands. But I love the smell of cocoa powder. Love the smell of chocolate anyway. I'm a real big fan of chocolate. Y'all would have never guessed that, would you? So we're going to get this mixed up as good as we can. And it says you can put all this in a blender until there's no visible milk powder left. I'm not doing that. I'm a little bit of a rebel here. We're just going to mix this together the best we can. I'm not dragging out my blender today. Just going to keep mixing it until I think it's well incorporated. And this is an old ball jar. Has the glass lid on it. Can y'all see that? And then it has these little... Now back in the day when they would can in these, this had a rubber seal to keep this together. I don't use these to can in, but I love the look of them and I love to use them for food storage. And if the color looks different, it's just because maybe I put a little less cocoa in the other one, or a little more sugar in it, or something like that. This is delicious. I love a cup of cocoa on a cold morning. I used to drink coffee all day long, and they had to put me on a medication for my lung problem. I have pulmonary hypertension in my lungs, and the medication that they put me on, I started noticing that certain things started tasting really bitter. I don't know if that medication, but that's the only correlation that I could find, was that I started that medicine. All right, we have a whole jar. Isn't that wonderful? And it does, I'm just going to kind of mix it up just a little. All right. So we have our hot chocolate mix, we have our brownie mix. Now the next thing we're going to mix together is pudding. Now, this is not an instant pudding mix, okay? You do have to cook this, but I don't find that it's very much trouble at all. Let me get my... I don't find that it's any trouble at all to get this out and whip it up. As a matter of fact, I like it hot as well as I like it cold. So sometimes, you've seen me make this, I think on the channel. I made Papa some and put them in my little, I have a yogurt maker, and it has little glass jars. And I would make it and then put it in those little glass jars, so they were single serving, and I put them in the refrigerator for him. And so we may do that, who knows, pretty soon. Excuse me. All right, so I need 1/3 cup of white sugar. One-third cup of white sugar. How much is this going to make? All right, we're going to do one. We might wind up doing another one just to fill this jar up. I want to get this jar filled up. All right, so we have our 1/3 cup of white sugar, and we need 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. I think that was 1/3 of cup measure in there. Yes, it was. All right. And we need 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. That's what's going to make this thicken up. 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. All of the recipes will be in the show notes. And then when you go to make this, you're going to put 2½ cups of milk and 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I can already see I'm going to make up another one of these. And I'm just going to pour this in here and mix it together because that way it'll look nice in my jar. And these are wonderful things for gifts. You could make this up and, you know, give it to a friend as a gift. My friend Joyce, she loved what we called Russian tea. It was made with tang and instant tea. We'll have to do that one day in honor of her. She loved that, and I would make that for her every so often, and she would just be thrilled to get it. All right. So the next time, I'm going to mix up another one, but we're going to double it, okay? And this might, I'm sorry if it's confusing, but we're going to double it. So, as I said, in the show notes, in the description, there will be all the recipes. And you can decide if you want to make a single serving or if you just want to make a jar like I'm doing. And then that way you can pull out what you need and do it. That's what I say, 1/3 cup. So I'm going to put 2/3 because I'm doubling my recipe. And if I'd really looked at that good, I would have just went ahead and tripled it to start with. And then 1/3 cup, so I'm going to do 2. So 2/3 cup of cocoa. Here's our cornstarch. We're going to do 6 tablespoons of cornstarch. And I'm not leveling these off. Guys, I'm just a country cook, you know what I mean? Now, if I were baking a cake, I would definitely go easy and measure everything precisely. I used to make wedding cakes a long time ago. What is this? Can't read what's on there. Okay, this is 1/4 of a cup, 1/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm going to need 2 of these. And of course, when I was doing the wedding cakes, I would make, I would be very precise in what I was doing. Because you don't want that cake to fall apart as you are trying to deliver it. Baking, you have to be more precise. I was really pretty precise with the brownie mix. All right, bring our jar over. All right. And we're just going to put the ring and lid back on. And on the top I have chocolate pudding mix. And then I have, this will be in my binder. So when you go to make this, you are going to put 3/4 of a cup of the dry mix into your pan. And you're going to put 2½ cups of milk and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And you're just going to keep stirring it. You have to stay with it until it starts thickening up like what you want. This makes an excellent chocolate gravy if you like that. Like I said, I like the pudding hot as well as cold. Now, if you're making the pudding and you're going to put it in the refrigerator, my suggestion is to let it cool down for just a little while. Then pour it into your bowl, you know, much like this one or something. And then put plastic wrap right down on top of it, all the way around. And that'll keep that film that, if you've ever had homemade pudding that's been in the refrigerator, you notice that there's a little film on top. That doesn't mean it's gone bad. It just makes that. But if you'll put a little bit of cling wrap, I keep pointing up there because that's where mine is. A little bit of cling wrap on the top of it, and then put it in the refrigerator and let it get cold, you won't have that film forming. Now, when I make this, I'm going to put them in little jars. You can buy at Walmart 1 cup jars or a half a cup jars. So, like in the canning department. So you could decide which serving you wanted for yourself or your family, and then just divide it up into those. So anyway, we are going to make me a cup of hot chocolate. Let me grab me a cup. So I'm gonna say do the 1/4 of a cup. Now, it seems like a lot. It's really not. Let me get this over by the sink and get this kind of dusted off. We're going to put our lid back on here. We're going to set it down here. All of this will go with my dry goods in my pantry. Let me grab some milk. And again, I'm using the milk from the Dollar Tree because we don't tend to use a lot of milk. And you just kind of have to mix this, keep mixing it until everything is kind of mixed together. And it'll mix on it together once you heat it up. So let me put it in the microwave. Now I like to add just a little bit of cream to mine. When you get this out, a lot of the chocolate mixture is going to be kind of at the top, and you're going to have to stir it in. Now you say, why go to all this trouble? Well, one, you controlling the ingredients. If you read the packages of stuff like this, I'm going to add just a little cream. If you read the packages, you probably won't be able to pronounce a lot of the words unless you are a scientist. And I'm no scientist. Now you could add some marshmallows to the top of this, and that would be delicious. Got a good flavor, but it's not hot enough. So I think it's going to take about 2 minutes, at least in my microwave. I mentioned the marshmallows. Now I need some. These are kind of stuck together. They've been up there through the heat. So I'm just going to get a few. Now, you can add, if this is not chocolatey enough for you, let me check it. If this is not chocolatey enough for you, then you're going to know the next time that you make this to add more cocoa mix or just cocoa powder. Now, if you decide, well, that's really, I don't want that to be what I'm drinking, you could just dump it out and mix some more up in there, and it's not going to affect anything. You could add more cocoa is what I'm trying to say. Lovely flavor. I think for me, I will probably add more cocoa. I don't think that's quite enough. So what did we put in there? We put a half a cup. I think I would go with a whole cup to my mixture there. So I hope you enjoyed today coming along with me as we put these mixes together. We're going to be doing quite a few of these little series. And today was all about chocolate, which Nana loves. And so remember, Nana loves you. Nana's so proud of you. And you always have a friend here. I'll see you on the next one. So good.